of brass tacks tonight because tomorrow, the 8th of February, Pakistan will be voting in national and provincial elections where the country's democracy is literally facing a test of credibility. There is turmoil. There's a national crackdown against Imran Khan's party. He himself is in jail. He's had 3 convictions, multiple jail sentences. It is unclear whether the elections will see a voter turnout that is lower, a level of enthusiasm and interest that is much lower than what we've seen in elections past. But the turnout question has emerged, and given the violence that we have seen, where 24 people were killed in 2 separate attacks in Balochistan. Here's first an explainer on what is at stake in the Pakistan election, who the important players are, and who likely this time is being favored by, quote-unquote, the establishment. As Pakistan heads to the polls this week, it is one of the most lackluster campaigns seen in recent years. That's because everyone seems to know that the result is almost a foregone conclusion. The all-powerful military is using its familiar playbook to sideline its biggest nemesis, former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Former Prime Minister Khan, who once was a favorite with the generals in Rawalpindi, ran out of favor and was ousted by the Pakistan Parliament in 2022. Since then, his party, the PTI, and its candidates have been detained or simply forced to quit the party. Many of them have been arrested, their homes have been ransacked, all in a bid to try and intimidate them. No one has been spared, neither the candidates, their relatives, sometimes even their pets. Army officials have prevented PTI candidates from campaigning. They have censored news coverage of the party. They have even used internet blackouts to block live streams of speeches by Imran Khan. Last week, Imran Khan, who's been in jail since August of last year, was sentenced to 10 years in prison on charges of leaking official secrets. In addition, he also got a 14-year jail term in a separate corruption case called the Toshakhana case, in which he's accused of selling off expensive state gifts. And late last week, he was given another 7-year sentence, and so was his wife, Bushra Bibi. The charge against them was that their marriage was un-Islamic and that the nikah, or the marriage, had not happened as per proper Islamic law. Military intervention in Pakistan's elections is not new. The military has ruled over the country for more than half of its time since independence, either directly or through proxies. While direct army rule has stopped in recent decades, the military now prefers to rule by proxy. They first backed Imran Khan in 2018, and then when things started to go south, they jailed Khan and are now said to be backing former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. But the current crackdown by the military has been more visible than those in previous years. And that makes this year's vote among the least credible in Pakistan's history. These elections will not have any legitimacy, perhaps even less than the 2018 elections in which Imran Khan was elected Prime Minister. And if an elected government does not seem to have the people's legitimacy, then you cannot expect to see either political stability or even economic stability. The military has wielded a heavier hand this time because it's confronting a particularly turbulent time in Pakistan. The country has seen years of economic turmoil, its foreign reserves have plunged, the economy has gone into the doldrums, it has had to go to the IMF on multiple occasions seeking a bailout. It's also feeling pressure from all 3 of its neighbors, India to the east, Afghanistan to the north, and Iran to its east. All 3 countries have been challenging Pakistan's status as a nuclear-armed country that has 240 million people. For most of Pakistan's existence, the military has stifled civilian governments from ruling freely. When Imran Khan was ousted after a dispute over the military leadership, he accused the generals of orchestrating a coup against him. At rallies that were attended by tens of thousands of his supporters, Imran Khan publicly took the names of generals who he accused of plotting against him. This was unprecedented. Direct criticism of the army leadership was unheard of in a country where people always spoke in hushed tones whenever the Fauj was to be criticized. Viral videos created by Imran Khan's party has stoked frustration with the military among a large base of young supporters. In this election too, more than half the voters will be first-timers. A large number of them happen to be supporters of Imran Khan. They're also for the first time coming to terms with what the army's hold is on their country's politics. When Imran Khan was arrested back in May, hundreds of thousands of protesters attacked military installations. The May 9th violence was perhaps the first time that military buildings were targeted. Houses and offices of generals, brigadiers, you name it, nothing was spared in that attack. Government officials have denied any unlawful meddling in the elections in a way to try and sideline Imran Khan and his party. They have defended arrests of PTI leaders as a necessary response to the violent protests that happened back in May. Most election observers expect a victory by the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, or the PMLN, which is the party of former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. Sharif himself was not exactly a favorite of the army. In 2017, he was convicted in a corruption case. He was forced to flee to London. He lived in exile for the better part of the last 5 years. Earlier too, back in the late 1990s, he was ousted in a coup by General Pervez Musharraf and forced to flee to Saudi Arabia. Sharif, in his latest avatar, has come back to Pakistan a few months ago after reportedly cutting a deal with the army. Once again, he happens to be in the good books of the army and is expected to become Prime Minister for a fourth time. But the current crackdown has made this perhaps Pakistan's most muted election in decades. Streets that would normally be filled with political rallies have been empty for weeks now. Many people were convinced that the election could not even happen on the 8th of February, that was the scheduled date. What the army is trying to do is to demoralize and confuse supporters of PTI and Imran Khan, and through that they're hoping to stop PTI voters from going to the polls. It looks highly unlikely that PTI voters would come out. They feel that they already know what the result is going to be, that this is a fixed match. Last month, Imran Khan's party was also barred from using its iconic cricket bat symbol. Khan, after all, was associated with cricket. He won Pakistan a World Cup. That's the only time that country has won the World Cup. Losing the election symbol was a critical blow to this party in a country where about 40% of the people are illiterate. Voters, more often than not, rely on election symbols to identify which candidate belongs to which party. PTI candidates have also effectively lost their ability to campaign. Permits to hold public rallies have either been completely cancelled or just denied. Printing companies have been told not to produce any posters of Imran Khan, and those that do manage to get Imran Khan posters printed, they quickly disappear. To shore up support, PTI candidates are now campaigning in the shadows. They're having small private gatherings as opposed to big public ones. The crackdown on PTI supporters has reached into the pockets of Pakistani society, which was once safe from military harassment. Women have been arrested in droves in connection with what happened in May, the violence that we saw back in May. Even the elite in Pakistan, which have traditionally had close ties to the military, even they have not been spared. In fact, the arrest of a granddaughter of a former army chief sent shockwaves through the upper echelons of Pakistani society. Khadija Shah is a well-known PTI supporter. She faces charges of terrorism, sedition and rioting. She was granted bail just last month after spending months in jail on what was clearly trumped-up charges. Many believe the military was using her to deliver a warning to the rest of the country's elite that the all-powerful Pakistan Army's reach will not spare anyone. Not former prime ministers, not even the granddaughter of a former army chief. All right, let's try and make sense of this. Two very special guests are joining us through the course of the latter half of this program. First, I want to go across to Raham Khan. She's the former wife of the former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan, also a former news presenter with the BBC. Thank you very much, Raham Khan, for speaking with us. Just outline the context in which this election is taking place. You have one former Prime Minister, Imran Khan, who's in jail. The other former Prime Minister looks like he will become the Prime Minister yet again for a fourth time. But overall, this election and the scenarios leading up to this election, it seems like it lacks credibility. It's been lackluster. How do you view this current election in Pakistan compared to elections in the past?
So thank you, Zaka. But I think absolutely lackluster is perhaps the best word to describe the elections which are happening tomorrow in Pakistan. But mind you, it's not much different to the elections in 2018 because it seems to be like a repeat performance for many of us. But of course, in 2018, there was a little bit of a difference because everyone was quite involved in the election process, and there seemed to be a better vibe, perhaps. This time, to be fair to the rest of the actors on the field, that they have been quite fair, I suppose, in their criticism of the election process and the fact that a former prime minister is in jail and out of the race, so to speak. Back in 2018, of course, this was being celebrated. So I think this credit must go to all of us, analysts and those who are viewing this as bystanders or those who are commenting about it, and even political parties. I mean, Bilawal Bhutto has been on record, and many others. Of course, he's a rather more famous face, perhaps, for India. So they have called out the fact that this is perhaps not the sort of election that we'd like in Pakistan, but it's not much different to the scene in 2018 because you might recall that in 2018 it was Nawaz Sharif and his daughter Maryam Nawaz Sharif who were not part of the race. So it's sort of, same old, in the sense that it is history perhaps repeating itself. Some people are even saying that this is karma. But I think that it's obviously regrettable that this is the case, but who can we blame but the former Prime Minister, the now not even the chairman of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, who is now languishing in jail.
I do want to ask you, you said in a way this is karma, the tables have turned from 2018. At that time, Imran Khan was being seen as the one who was the favoured boy of the army. Today, obviously, he's fallen out of favour with the army. Nawaz Sharif seems to be the one who's in the good books of the army. But for the first time in many elections, do you reckon that people are openly talking about the role of the army and how they are the puppet masters who are controlling the strings and the politicians are, in effect, dancing to the tunes of the army?
I think I take an issue with it. I think people like myself, we've been, I suppose I've spoken to CNN as well as other international media and did point out back in 2018 that Imran is going to pave the way for future puppets, that he is going to make this a trendsetter as he is. He is going to set the trend for other politicians to desire this one-page favoritism, that he will make it difficult for other politicians and other people to be this compromising. And that's exactly what's happened. If I'm on record for saying that, he is an ideal puppet. So in many ways, he has opened the doors of the floodgates of compromising politicians. So I wouldn't really blame the military if people are so willing to strike a deal. And I think that it's also a bit unfair because if you look at the West, for example, democracy in the West, in the US, in the UK, or other places, it is a bit of a pick and choose. So what Imran has done, he has violated the deep state's interests. He has violated the sanctity of our state's secrets. He has violated the fact that you cannot go this far where the security and the defense of the country are concerned. So obviously he's had a punishment much worse than politicians in the past. And I think that what he has done, many would say, is his own doing and is unforgivable.
All right. So I guess we will see at the end of this election whether or not Imran Khan supporters are able to sort of counter the influence of the army, or will ultimately, as Raham Khan said, the army, which is often referred to as the establishment in Pakistan, whether they will continue and their writ will continue in the political arena as well. I also want to go across to senior journalist Hamid Mir, who's one of the most credible, one of the most famous names in journalism in Pakistan. Thank you very much, Hamid Mir Saab, for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. You've covered many, many elections over the course of your last 30-year career. Why is this election so different compared to the rest? Many commentators, like I said, are saying that the campaigns were subdued, it was lackluster. Many are even questioning the very credibility of this election. How is this election, in your view, different from the ones in the past?
Thank you very much for inviting in your show. This election is very different from the past many elections which I covered as a journalist, because many people, a big majority of the Pakistanis, are of the view that this election is already rigged. The people will cast their votes tomorrow, but some political parties are already claiming that the Election Commission of Pakistan was a party, some state institutions were a party, and these institutions are trying their best to impose Nawaz Sharif as the Prime Minister of Pakistan. But on the other side, there are some parties who are still hopeful that their voters will make some miracle, make some breakthrough. So why a big majority of the Pakistanis think that this election is already rigged? Because this is the first time in the history of Pakistan that a major political party, which was created and still led by the jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan, this party is contesting the election, but all its candidates are not contesting on their election symbol, which was the cricket bat. So the Election Commission of Pakistan, through a decision, they announced that Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf cannot contest on their old election symbol, and now all their candidates all over Pakistan, they are contesting this election as independents. And every candidate of Imran Khan is contesting on a different election symbol.
So when you say, Hamid Saab, that people don't have faith in the election process because they feel the result is almost predetermined, that Nawaz Sharif will become Prime Minister for a fourth time, speak to us also about the various equations that are happening. Clearly, former Prime Minister Imran Khan once used to be the poster boy of the army. He's fallen out of their good books. There have been multiple cases. He's battling them. He's been convicted in 3 of them at least. His supporters feel like the army has wronged Mr. Khan. But Nawaz Sharif, who himself has had a bit of a checkered history with the army. He's come back to the country after 4 years last October, and he is now, of course, seemingly favored, at least by the military establishment, to become the next Prime Minister. Tell us about this whole jugalbandi that seems to be happening between the army and Imran Khan first, and now between the army and Nawaz Sharif.
It is very interesting that we are actually watching an action replay of 2018 elections. In 2018 elections, the military establishment was standing behind Imran Khan, and the Supreme Court of Pakistan disqualified Nawaz Sharif, and he was arrested. He was behind the bars. He was not contesting the election. And even then, his party got some majority in the biggest province of Pakistan, Punjab. And then some of his candidates who were elected on the ticket of Mr. Nawaz Sharif, they were forced to change their loyalties, and that's how Imran Khan was able to form his government not only in Punjab but also in the center. So the 2018 election was also rigged. Now in 2024 election, the situation is the same, but the characters have changed their position, and now the army is standing behind Mr. Nawaz Sharif, and Mr. Imran Khan is behind the bars. He is disqualified. He is not contesting election, and now Nawaz Sharif may become prime minister fourth time in the history of Pakistan.
All right, Hamid Mir Saab, as always, a pleasure listening to your insights on Pakistan politics. Let's see. As they say in elections, let the people decide who the best man or woman is to lead them into the next 5 years. We'll leave it at that. It is a fascinating election. Yes, a lackluster one. Maybe its credibility is under a cloud. But nonetheless, elections in Pakistan are always a fascinating affair. And we'll have the results covered here on CNN News 18. Thank you for your time.